The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. I'm trying to turn on my camera and it doesn't look like it's working. There we go. There we are. All right. We are talking about taking the PMP and what you need to know this morning. So as we get started, this webinar has some references that we're going through that are tied to the Project Management Institute, to PMI, and also we have copyright information at RMC Learning Solutions. So this document is not for use or disclosure outside of those who attend this webinar and may not be copied, recorded, or reproduced in any manner, in whole or in part, without the prior written consent of RMC Learning Solutions. So my name is Cheryl Karstens. I am the Manager of Curriculum Development and a trainer with RMC Learning Solutions. I have 20 plus years of experience in training and development, project management, agile, hybrid, business analysis, and leadership development. I started working 20 plus years ago in human resources, and that evolved as my career evolved and became more and more related to project management, agile, hybrid, business analysis, and of course leadership development. I am a 3-time speaker at PMI Global and will be speaking this year again on September 20th, 2024 in Los Angeles. And I have a BA in Human Resources from Metropolitan State University. And I also have completed the courses for organizational leadership at Bethel University, excuse me, went out of my mind for a minute, Bethel University in St. Paul, Minnesota. So just a little bit about RMC Learning Solutions. So we were founded in 1991 by Rita Mulcahy, and she was studying to take her PMP exam and realized that there was not a lot or any resources for her to study for the exam. So she created the PMP exam prep book, and now we have helped over 1 million professionals prepare for certification exams. Unfortunately, Rita Mulcahy did pass away, and we are continuing to work through and offer her guidance and her philosophy on training on project management, business analysis, and agile. We also have numerous solutions and products ranging from self-study to e-learning to classroom to instructor-led virtual. And that is what I do, is I work with the instructor-led virtual courses and create courses for students in the PMP exam prep, CAPM, in business analysis, agile, hybrid, PM fundamentals, and all kinds of instructor-led virtual courses in leadership development. We also have an international reach. We currently train in 60 regions in 18 languages around the world, and we are outcome-based. So we have outcome-based learning through professional instructors, coaches, and mentors. And what that means is, as a result of this webinar and all of the webinars and classes that we organize and teach, we have things that we want you to be able to do as a result of this webinar. And so for this particular webinar, our outcome-based is for you to take the PMP exam prep. And if that's not in the cards for you today, we also have many other pieces of curriculum that we can offer and show you that there are many different things that you can learn, even if you're not quite ready for that PMP exam prep quite yet. So what are we going to do today? What is on our agenda? We are going to answer your questions and more. So we're going to start by talking about, is the PMP exam prep right for me? And then PMP exam content outline, what's included in the exam, what can I do to prepare, and then the online proctor exam, what are some things that you should know about the exam before you study and get ready to take the exam. So first of all, we have our first poll, and if you could just put this into the question box. So if you are looking at the PMP and you have your application has been approved, then please go ahead and put yes into the question box. And if you have not applied and are continuing to look and get more information about the PMP, then go ahead and put no into the question box of whether or not your application has been approved. All right, so I'm seeing a couple questions here. All right, we've got an array of yes and no's, which sounds very good to me. Gives me an idea of what we have for our participants today. So I thank you for answering that question. And we will go on and look at the PMP exam and application. So this is designed for experienced project managers with over 3 years experience leading and managing projects. So yesterday we had another webinar where we were talking about what it means to apply for the CAPM. And the CAPM is a lower level exam than the PMP exam prep. And so this one we're looking at is specifically for the PMP exam. You have application of knowledge and experience in project management and good practices to situations. You have analysis of situations and questions and answers to determine the best answer provided. So you have 180 questions and 230 minutes to complete the exam. The current exam content outline is for exams taken after January 2nd, 2021. So there are 3 different options or ways that you can qualify to take the PMP exam and its application. So there are requirements to apply. So you have 35 hours of project management education or your current CAPM. So if you have already passed your CAPM, then you do not need to go through all of these different options. So our option 1 is that you have a 4-year degree and a minimum of 36 unique months of project management experience leading and directing projects. And so when you go in and you complete your application, it shows and goes through how to fill out that information. And then your secondary option is that you have a secondary degree and a minimum of 60 unique months of project management experience and leading and directing projects. And then our option 3 is that you have a bachelor's or postgraduate degree from a GAC accredited program and a minimum of 24 unique months of project management experience leading and directing projects. So the amount of time that you have varies by the amount of education or degree that you currently have. So this exam changed back in 2021, and so we have been looking at and looking at all of the information for these different exams. So if you go to the site and print these documents, you will get the certification exam. You will get more information on testing and then on online proctored tests for taking this exam. So the exam content outline context, so it changes approximately every 4 years. The previous change was in 2015. And like I said, then it changed in 2021. So we are getting ready again for looking at another change in the next couple of years. The profession and project management does not remain static. And so we are always evolving and we're always changing. That then we go through and PMI looks at the trends within the project management profession, and they look at different areas that we can get different test questions on that are more applicable to what we are currently doing. So most PMs work in a combination of development approaches. So there is some hybrid agile information that we are currently using along with our predictive. And we also have skills across PMI's talent triangle and those tasks that lead project managers to lead and manage. And so what our exam does and what they look at when they create a new exam content outline is it looks at what are the current trends in project management, and then how can we better ask and answer those questions to help us better show our appreciation and understanding of the information within the exam content outline. So we do this based on an analysis of project managers, their work and their role, and they put this into a document called the Global Practice Analysis. So they look at this information and they look at the nature of project management, the ways that project managers work, the evolution of the business environments, and the evolution of development approaches. And when they do this, then they go back and they look at what type of questions we are currently being asked when we take this exam, and they go through and they look at if there are questions that need to change and change based on their global practice analysis, or whether or not some of those questions need to be retired and that we're not looking at those current practices anymore. So when we look at the current PMP exam, the exam is divided into 3 parts. And once you submit a part of the exam, your break starts. So after you complete the first portion of the exam, then it automatically goes to break. It breaks for about 10 minutes. And you can then, once your break is done, then you start over or you start onto the next portion of the exam. You cannot revisit questions from a part of the exam once submitted. So if you have a question that you are thinking about and are not quite sure of the answer of it, you do need to make sure that before you submit that portion of the exam that you have revisited and thought about the answer to that question, because you cannot go back and look at it once you've submitted that portion of the exam. You must keep track of the break time. If you do not return on time from your first break, you will not have a remaining break. And so if it starts back up without you, you need to just get going as soon as you get back. So our suggestion is that you keep track of your break time and that you make sure that you're back and starting on the exam with plenty of time. And at the end of the break, you proceed with the next part of the exam. So we have different exam types of questions. So there is a matching or a drag and drop feature. There is multiple response. There is a hotspot, and then a limited fill in the blank. The majority of the questions on the exam are still multiple choice. And so the majority of the time you are still able to answer just with A, B, C, or D. We do have a course where we have additional questions in an exam simulator that does have some of these questions in it. But again, the majority of the questions are multiple choice. So that is what the majority of your questions are going to be when you're practicing. So the PMP exam content outline, what is included in the exam content outline? So this again was redone and resubmitted in January of 2021. And so now we have 3 business areas or domains that they are asking questions about. So 42% of the percentage of questions is on the people domain, 50% is on the process, and 8% is on the business environment. Now, one of the things that's very important to recognize is that 50% of the questions are referring to a plan-driven approach, and then 50% of the questions are asking about change-driven approaches. And so if you do not have a lot of experience in change-driven approaches, one of our courses is very helpful to help you differentiate between the change-driven and the predictive or plan-driven approach. So some of the current differences that we have in our course, and that is going to help you be able to differentiate between the combination of development approaches. So we have questions specifically that are going to help you decide if this is a change-driven approach or a change-driven or a plan-driven approach. We have our questions divided into the 3 domains, the business environment, people, and process. And we have 180 questions for you. That's what's going to be within your time frame that you are taking the exam. And you do have 2 breaks that you can take during that. We do have new question types. And as I said, we do have some of those in our exam simulator. And then we also refer to the 7th edition of the PMP guide for some questions. So we have done our research on the new exam and how that we can best help you to pass that exam. So the current exam similarities that it has with the older exams that you may have heard about that other people have taken. So the PMBOK guide is one of your resources, but it's not the only resource used by exam question writers. And so it is a resource, it is within the book, within the exam prep book for our classes and for all of our studying information. It is definitely a reference in that book, but it is not the only reference that is used to write the PMP exam prep book from RMC Learning Solutions. So the questions written by project managers about real application of project management to situations, and then based on the applicable exam content outline. So we have created within our course has more information about all of this information. And then it also has in our exam simulator more questions for you to answer, to practice, to get ready to take the exam. So resources for the PMP exam, many resources used by exam question writers. And so people are looking at additional resources besides the PMBOK guide. The PMP exam is not a test of the PMBOK guide or for the Agile Practice Guide. It tests knowledge, applications, and analysis of project management and good practices. So it helps you to be able to see where your gaps in your knowledge are and hopefully fill those gaps. We have the updated lexicon and terminology, including the process groups, tools, and techniques. And so we have all of that information for you within our courses and within our book. So the PMP exam content outline. So within our book and within our courses, we have the domain tasks. So those are the responsibilities of a project manager. And then we will have an example of one of those tasks. So for this example, our task is to manage conflict. And then underneath each of those tasks, it breaks them down by enablers. And then those are working examples within the tasks. So our example here is to interpret the source and stage of the conflict. And so we go through and we do an analysis, and that is how our book is written, is based on that analysis. So they would find where they have content and information on our domain to manage conflict, and then go into more detail about how to interpret the source and stage of the conflict. Now, you won't find those necessarily word for word within our book, but each of our sections has a top portion where there are boxes that go into and give you explanation of where we have found that information. So it might be within the process group guides, it might be within our own book, or it might be within the PMBOK guide. And those are listed out for you to be able to see how all of this information is covered within our exam prep book. So, for example, we have the people domain. So within the people domain, we have 14 tasks and 53 different enablers that are all being asked questions within the exam. So then we are focusing on leading and developing the team to be high performing, facilitating through communication and engagement with stakeholders. And then we also have agreement planning and negotiation. And so we do all of that work within the chapters of our book that we have created to help you study for the exam. Within process, we have 17 tasks with 61 enablers. So we're focusing on planning and managing the project and engagement of stakeholders, integration and tailoring, evaluating, planning, and managing project influences to deliver results. And all of those 17 tasks and 61 enablers are all listed in the exam content outline. And then you will find the majority of them within our PMP exam prep book to help you better prepare for the exam. And then within business environment, there are 4 tasks with 19 enablers. So there we focus on value and benefits, compliance, business influencers, and change management. And so you can see, as I went through, we had 42% of our exam questions were based on the people. Oh, there we go. Are based on the people in the exam content outline, and then we also have 8% based on the business environment in the exam. Our online proctored exam, and what should I know? What are some of the questions or things that you think about when you think about whether or not you should take this online a proctored exam, or whether or not you should take this in your home or take this within the classroom. So we have instructor-led virtual materials within the PMP 11th edition classes. And this is an instructor-led virtual course. We have 2 of them coming up, one in July and one in August. So they are 4 days long. They are 36 contact hours, excuse me. And we have one in July and one in August. We also have the PMP exam prep 10 session course, which is 35 contact hours, and that is the amount of hours that you do need to have in your application to fill this out. And we have that class coming up again in October. We have one going on right now. So prep materials are included with your course registration. And then we also have the downloadable audio book, the abridged edition, that can also help you if you're in your car and you're driving and you want something to listen to, you can listen to the PMP exam prep book as you are driving. You can listen to it at home while you're working and studying. And because you have come to this virtual webinar today, we do have a special for the PMP, a virtual coupon that is webinar 100. And if you use that, you can also get $100 off, a $100 discount on one of our courses today. So how do I decide on the exam and what the exam should look like for me? So some of the online proctored pros are that you can many times take the test, the exam itself, test sooner. You can take it 24/7, all days of the week. You do not have to travel to a testing center. You have no concerns of COVID. You do have an online whiteboard that you're able to use, and you do have 2 sets of breaks if you are interested in taking the online proctored pro. Some of the cons about the environment in which you're working, the online whiteboard may take more time. So depending on how you are as you're practicing for some of these exams, that's one of those things that you might want to think about. If you are taking excessive time, or you're taking more time going through and practicing on your proctored, exam questions, that you need to make sure that you have time to use the whiteboard. The ability to have a space with no noise or interruptions, no reading out loud or mumbling. So you also need to be quiet when you are with others and looking at how you are going to take the test and how you're going to be successful. You must limit movement, that includes moving eyes and lips, to stay in compliance. And so some of those are different things that you have to think about when you are thinking about whether or not you want to take the online proctored exam. Now, if you go into a testing center and take the exam there, some of the testing center pros are that you know the rules and the environment ahead of time. You can find out what those are and read them before you schedule your appointment. Accommodations are supported. So if you have any type of accommodations that you need, please make sure that you talk to the people at the testing center beforehand and make sure that you have all of that approved before you take your exam. You have the ability to use center provided writing materials, and you do still have those 2 set breaks. The cons of our testing center availability can be limited, and it may be difficult to find a time to test. And so depending on how far you are away from a testing center, may also help to influence whether or not you take the exam online proctored at home or at some other facility, or whether or not you are able to find a testing center that you can go to and take your exam. You also need to bring your own snacks and beverages, and then ask how to access them during breaks. And again, make sure that you do that before you are there to take your exam, so you don't fall behind or have any issues at the center, that you can take care of everything beforehand. So then when you get there, you get everything set up, and then you're ready to go and take your exam. So online proctoring for the PMP exam. So you do need to make sure that you check out their technical requirements. Some of them have more requirements than others, and depending on what type of computer that you're bringing, you do want to make sure that you have checked with them and make sure that all of your technical requirements, the information, the details, all of those things are worked out, that your online whiteboard for notes, that is created, and that you're going to be able to use it. Your on-screen calculator in both environments, and then a comment box in both environments, that those are working properly and that you're going to be able to access them while you take your exam. So our current coupons that we do have, as I said earlier, we have the coupon for the PMP virtual courses, where you can use the coupon code of webinar 100 for a $100 discount. And if you also need to learn a little bit more about Agile fundamentals, a comprehensive guide to using an Agile approach, that book was written by Mike Griffiths, and you can receive a $10 discount off of that book price when you purchase that book using Agile Webinar 10, and then you can also receive a discount off of that book. You do have the opportunity to collect the PMP exam prep information and enter that into, oh, I went ahead, there we go, claiming in your PDUs. Oh, this one still says taking the CAPM. So this should be taking the PMP on July 13th. The rest of all of the information is correct. And that would be information that you can put into the paperwork after and the end of this session. So if you're going to use the online whiteboard, this is an example of what it will look like, and you're going to use it on Pearson VUE, and it will show you exactly how to use this information, and then you can use that while you take the exam. Do we have any questions? So you can go ahead and let's see, we have this question. Do you have a best guess as to when the PMP exam will change again? At this point, we do not have any information on that. We do know or have heard that there are groups that are looking at the exam, but as of right now, we do not have any new information about when we would be updating the book or looking at any new information for the exam. Let me see what else we have. I'm sorry, this gets really small and I'm trying to, here we go. Do we have, that one was done. In light of all the new Agile material in the PMP exam, how significant is the PMI ACP certification? Because that is specifically referring to Agile and the ACP, I do think that it's still a significant amount of difference, that if you are considering taking the ACP exam, that I still think that that's a valid concern. If you are considering taking the PMP exam prep versus the ACP, I personally would suggest taking the PMP exam first, and then take the PMI ACP exam. But of course, that all depends on what type of questions or what type of information that you are looking for. Those seem to be the two questions that I have. Okay, can you share the slide shown before the waterfall slide? I am not 100% sure which one you are referring to. Don't think we're going back this far. I'm not exactly sure. Does the current exam refer to pinbox? Okay, so another question. I'm sorry, I don't see which one you are referring to. That's before waterfall. I apologize. Another question that we do have is, does the current exam refer to PMBOK 7th only, or both 6th and 7th? That's kind of an interesting question, because how that actually works within our courses and within how we've outlined and within the book is that the 7th edition is the only PMBOK guide currently being referenced. The 6th edition, much of that information went into the new book, which is the process group guide. And so that gives a lot more information about the process itself. And so I would suggest, if you are studying for this exam, that you purchase the process group guide. You can get that on the PMI website. And I think that one has a lot more of the information in it than trying to find the 6th edition if you don't already have it. If you do have it, I would say that there's definitely something in there that you can review and you can look at. But again, officially, that book has been retired. Let's see, there is a question for, says, am I correct? There will be some questions on waterfall. Yes, Hector, there will be questions on waterfall or Agile. All right, I think I have gotten through all of the questions. All right. All right, so I'm going to go through a few more slides here before we finish up for today. Oh, I have another one from Jacqueline. I do not see, oh, there it is. Okay, can you discuss the requirements for taking the PMP exam again? Let's go back to this slide. There we go. Okay, so here are the requirements. for Jacqueline, I think it is. So you need to have the 35 hours of project management education or a current CAPM in order to apply to take the exam in the first place. And then we have the 3 different options that depend on what type of degree that you may have, whether you have a 4-year degree. So I think we are all okay again. All right. The other materials that we do have that someone had, it did bring up, was the ACP. So the PMI ACP exam prep hours. So we do have courses for this class. We also have instructor-led virtual e-learning and on-site courses. And you can see all of the materials that are available for the ACP. And then we also have the PMI PBA exam prep that also has information on an instructor-led virtual course. We have our exam prep book, the exam simulator, and then hot topics flashcards for the PBA exam prep as well. I have some more time to answer some more questions. So you can go ahead and put them into the chat and put them into the information, and I will go through and answer those as they're coming across. So here we go, is it possible to still take the PMP exam if you have the CAPM and more than 10 plus years experience as a PM, but no 4-year or 2-year degree? Yes. I think you would definitely have to give more of your experience, but yes, you can absolutely still apply and put in your information. Let me see. All right. I am not seeing any more questions. All right, I see that. All right. Patty Hughes, do you have your hand raised? And could you put that into the questions if you have a question there? I see another question is, am I penalized for unanswered questions when running out of time? Yes, if you do not answer a question, you are penalized for that. So somebody asked if they can have a copy of the recording of this talk. We do send out information about this course and all of the other courses. So you will receive a copy of this course or this recording. All right, and somebody asked about our book that says that it is an alignment with the 6th edition. And yes, our book is still valid. It should have information on the 7th edition in it. If you had purchased an older book that does not have information on the 7th edition, you can contact our customer service and they can work with you to get you a new book. It is the recommended time frame to study before attempting the new PMP. Generally, After taking our course and you've already been approved to take the exam, generally you should be studying for roughly about 6 weeks. Of course, it depends on how much information and how much you've already studied prior to class. But generally, we say about 6 weeks of studying. All right, there's another question in here. We receive this deck. It will come in a couple days. You'll receive it in the mail. All right. Go back up to the top and see if we have any more questions. So we have the question of, if we don't pass within a year, can we give it again or take it again within the next year? There is a process that you do need to go through if you do not pass, and it goes through that process and lets you know you have within X amount of months that you need to retake the test. And then it will explain it to you when and how often you need to take the exam in order to pass. And then when will the PMP exam questions be changing again? As I said at the beginning, we don't have any information to write right now that tells us that it is going to be changing. We do not currently have anything scheduled for the change, redoing our book, redoing any of our classes. So as of right now, I believe that this is all that we have for the exam, and I appreciate all of your time. I appreciate you and your questions. I am not seeing any other questions, so I think that we are all done for today. And I appreciate all of your time. And if you have additional questions, you can certainly get a hold of RMC through our email, which you can send us an email or contact us at students at rmcls.com or students at petersons.com. And with that, I think we are all done for today. So I thank you very much for all of your time and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.